I'm Beverly Fleming, and I grew up in Boca Grande, Florida, and have lived in Sarasota quite a few years. The island was wonderful because at that time um, there was no bridge to the island. We had a ferry that took cars over, so we'd take our car on the ferry, go to the mainland, which was Placida, and then we'd drive and go where we were going to shop or have the car worked on, because you didn't have full facilities on the island and no big department stores. And we also had a train, a passenger train that came down once a day and brought the people in from wherever. And then, of course, it brought the mail over once a day, too, so we congregated down at the post office and wait for the mail to be put up. And so those things really meant a lot to us, and it was, looking back, it's such a unique experience to recall. We had a lot of people come from the north that had homes on the island. We called them the beachfront people. It was always exciting for us because they would come in with, for instance, Mrs. Crowningshield. She was a lot of excitement because she had her whole entourage of some families, some employees, and even her little dogs. And then her chauffeur would be waiting for her in their like touring car. It was like an open car with just no windows, but a roof, everything. We had a big Christmas tree, and the whole island was invited to come. And Mrs. Crowningshield and her group of friends provided a present for each child on the island. And Santa Claus would call that child's name, and they would go up to Santa Claus and get their present. So it was just so unique what we did on the island. And it was just a wonderful place to grow up. Of course, we had the beaches every day. And if it was so hot that we really didn't want to be out in the sun playing basketball practice or softball or anything like that, they'd let us bring our bathing suits, and we'd just walk a block down to the beach and go swimming for phys ed. As far as we're concerned, the whole island was our playground because we could go anywhere. No crime, had no crime whatsoever. So we had no fear of being out at night, walking to the movies. We had movies twice a week in the winter, no movies in the summer. I think what was so neat was we felt so safe and secure because everybody knew each other, that somebody was looking out for us no matter where we were. We just enjoyed doing any and everything we wanted to do. The Fisher Village would be right there at the very end of the island. And they had the homes, wooden homes, and it was nice. They had a sandy yard, it was all sand, beach, and the boats. Of course, they had boats there, and a lot of fishermen. And they had a fish house there on the other side of the railroad tracks. Railroad tracks went right by it, going onto the island. The village was on this side, and the fish house was on the other side, so the fishermen would unload their boats at the fish house. And the fishermen they would take and spread their nets on this big wheel, and it was to dry them. They had to spread them out to dry them, so they had this big wheel that they would dry that, and then it was just a community for the fishermen. Oh, and I was also invited with this family to go tarpon fishing with them. And we went out, and it was so exciting. I caught a tarpon, but I couldn't get it in. It was just too much for me. So anyway, they took care of it. But I had so much fun. And then the boats would come in from all over the world, because Boca Grande has one of the deepest harbors in the world for the ships to come in. And I think they used to go into Tampa, but then the railroad built railroad down, and then they had big, huge bins that they brought phosphate from where they mine in the middle of the state. They put them on railroad cars, and they took them down to Boca Grande, and then they had a conveyor belt that this phosphate would be put on, and they would be carried out to the ship, way out. It's a long dock, and the ship could dock there. And then that long dock turned out to be a big fishing extravaganza when the tide was just right. And because they let the people on the dock at that time to go out and fish. And so word would get out that the shrimp was running and the fishing was good. So everybody went down to the dock, took their buckets and their nets or their fishing pole, rods, whatever. And that place would be covered with everybody fishing. But we would catch a lot of shrimp. We'd scoop them up in the nets, take them home, fix them fresh, and a lot of fish were caught, different types of fish. And it was just a lot of fun, because you got all these island people out on this dock, and so you could just see all those people fishing and visiting, and it was a lot of fun. And then we used to go clamming out in the bay and dig up clams. We'd go scalloping the clams. My aunt would come down, and she would make clam chowder for us, big bowl pots of clam chowder, and visit. But a lot of good things. That it was just good, clean fun. And we might get bored sometime, but very seldom. There was always something to do. So these things, you get to experience things that you would carry through your life and mean a lot to you. I wrote a poem. There is a place we all know well, with sand and seas and gulls and shells, a place we love to dream and play. We thought it would always be that way. But as time went by, as it always will, we found our dreams had all stood still. Although the place has changed so much, in our hearts it had not been touched.